On this episode, I'm going to be chatting with chiropractor Dr. Katie Ray, who runs NewDay in Chicago, Illinois. I've had the pleasure of getting to know her as a friend, and also she helped me immensely with my back with issues I've been having over the years. It's too bad she's not down here in Atlanta where I am, but I really appreciate you coming on today, Katie. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, just great to see you again and yeah, be reconnected.
Yeah, this is great. I really appreciate it because I feel like there's so much going on, and as someone who is part of the healthcare industry and also runs a small business, I think there's a lot I would love to know about how you are faring during the pandemic. But first, could you just tell me a little bit about NewDay and its approach to chiropractic care and health for the entire body?
I'm a chiropractor, and I know that for a lot of people, if you don't know anything about chiropractic already, or even if you do, it might seem a little boring. It has to do with cracking the back, getting rid of back pain. I actually got involved in chiropractic and became a chiropractor because it totally changed my life. I had some neck pain, I had some back pain, went to see this chiropractor who did this kind of special amazing kind of chiropractic that involved adjustments that feel like light touches. And all of a sudden, I was feeling different. I was breathing deeper. I was thinking different thoughts. I was feeling different things and really feeling like a reset through my whole nervous system. So that's what caused me to go to chiropractic school. I moved down to Atlanta. I was living in Marietta for 4 years doing that. And then I moved back to Chicago in 2013 and opened my office, NewDay. So I've had my business for 7 years.
And with the success of that business, you've been able to probably, as any small business, fare through different times. This is not something we've ever seen or experienced before, especially when we have to be aware of touching and how close we are to people. What are you doing to try and keep your business going, keep you and your clients safe?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting predicament for someone like me because on the one hand, I'm really lucky in that I am able to stay open. A lot of businesses, of course, as we know, are completely shut down. Workers are out of work, furloughed, that kind of thing. I have been able to stay open because chiropractic is continuing to be considered an essential service. So it's really great because obviously I love what I do, and it's great to be able to have a reason to leave the house and do what I love and be with people. My clients who I've known for months and years, who I talk a great deal about, and get to be part of each other's lives after all this time. So it's been really wonderful. However, with the shelter in place and the stay-at-home order, many people who are our clients have to stay home. So still being able to be open is great. However, only seeing about 30% of the number of client visits that we normally would um, certainly takes a toll on the people who are here are obviously the ones who feel the care is the most essential for them at this time in their relative cost benefit analysis of leave the house, stay at home in the current COVID situation. These particular folks consider this care important enough to leave the house for. I do wear a mask when I'm adjusting people, wash my hands, we sanitize the surfaces and all that. But for other people, they have a different cost benefit, and so they're just not able to come in at this time. And like I was saying, new people, aren't going to be as likely to start because things are so uncertain, not just with the situation with concerns about COVID and sickness and sanitary procedures, but the financial situation. I mean, chiropractic is something that people pay for out of pocket, primarily, at least in my practice. So people losing jobs, underemployed people at this time, definitely a tough time to be building business.
And along with that, I do want to get back to, I have a couple questions about what you do outside of the practice with social media and things like that. But since you brought up finances, Tell me about your experience. I know the first time around you had a little bit of trouble trying to get the loans that were being offered to small businesses. Can you tell me about that experience and where you're at now?
Yeah, glad you asked. I am pleased to report that supposedly I am receiving this PPP loan tomorrow. I signed off on it today. Um, Definitely really needed at this point. It's been over a month since our business has been impacted. And it was quite challenging because the bank that I bank with is one of those big banks that we subsequently found out people were not having as much luck getting their loan through, that they kind of burned through the money right away. Potentially were giving it to places like, Ruth's Chris, and, Shake Shack and all that. And that people who went through smaller banks had better luck. So I ended up putting in another application to another bank. And the other bank came back to me 3 days later and offered me a loan. So really, really glad I did that. I sought advice initially, and somebody in the banking world who is not affiliated with my regular bank told me to just kind of sit tight, because it did look as though they were processing my application, but I'm so glad I didn't. And I just needed to hedge my bets and go with that other bank. One of the things that is going to be challenging about it, that a lot of people might also be experiencing, is that the way that they did the calculation to find the amount that they were going to give you as a loan was quite challenging, because they decided not to include 1099 employees. And a large chunk of my paying people last year in the time frame that they did the calculation on was to 1099. So the amount of money I am getting is a lot less than would be needed to sustain the business even for a month at the old level. So, just going to have to do some reorganizations. And I'm sure it's something that's probably affecting a lot of businesses, because contractors are pretty common these days.
I was one for many years, so I understand that. And I've been speaking with a lot of people that were either 1099 employees or have hired them, and it's even getting unemployment and trying to prove what you were making the previous year has been difficult. And maybe you can tell me a little bit of what you're thinking of the next, maybe not next steps. And I know this is hard to figure out because we're taking it a day at a time. You are doing a really great job, and you always have, of using social media and putting out recommendations and things that people can do. Have you ramped that up? What do you see is next, or how are you taking these steps and assessing what you need to do?
Yeah, it's been wild, because I've learned about myself, I've learned more about the business, I've learned more about my clients, and there is so much that's unknown. But just almost acting on instinct, I definitely did step up the communication with my clients through email marketing, through social media, just knowing that we don't know how long this crisis is going to go on for. So it's not like any of us can take for granted that at some point, poof, it goes back to normal and everybody just comes back. So you need to find a way to stay connected with people, and maintain that relationship has felt really good. It's not like necessarily, talking business here, income generating activity, but just something that feels good and something that that you need to do in times like this. So that I've been doing a lot of, and it's been really great. I've actually had a lot of our clients tell me that they're just so happy with the things I've been sending out. They love reading my blogs, and I've always loved writing. Maybe not like the most typical thing for a chiropractor to be doing. Most chiropractors do blog, but yeah, it feels to be able to express myself. And I don't think I'm expressing necessarily overly controversial viewpoints. Being a chiropractic office, we are a place with a specific way of looking at health, and in particular natural health, and have that be the thing that we're impacting, because we can't always control what germs are coming in, but we can have some control over how our system handles it. And that is really the chiropractic way. That is a way that is held in common with other forms of natural healing. And that's not something that we're hearing a lot about right now in the mainstream. And so it's been, I think, really helpful for my clients to have me re-emphasizing that, hey, all that stuff I've been talking about for years, it's still valid. Like, don't be romanced into the idea that there's something frivolous or not impactful about taking good care of yourself, because there is. It makes all the difference.
One great thing about your practice is people don't just come in and get their service or their therapy and leave. You really try and make your practice part of the community and allow people to meet and network. How are you handling that now?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked about this because it is such a part of the life of our office. That office is a community to develop relationships through their businesses, even personal relationships and friendships. And we actually host a monthly business networking event at the office. And we have all of these community-based activities, most of which have involved in-person groups, none of which can happen right now. And it definitely has cut down on the feeling of community. I have to try to make up for some of what's been lost with the in-person contact.
In talking about taking care of yourself and kind of, I know as a practice, you look at the entire person, not just one little instance, but how other things might be affecting the way you feel, whether it be emotionally or physically. So do you have any takeaways or things that you want to pass on to folks at home that they should be keeping an eye out or taking care of that they can do on their own during this time?
You know, how I was saying at the beginning of the interview, that one of the challenges of this time for a business, even a business that can stay open, is the difficulty and kind of like practical inability to market to new clients, just because it just doesn't really work right now. The audience is different, all of that. That said, I have just very recently, like as of this week, started doing a little bit more marketing, mostly through my existing clients, but just to let people know that, hey, we're here. If you are ready now, talk to us. If you're not ready now, that's cool too. But start thinking about what you want to be doing when you're able to come back out into the world and be deciding what things you want to pursue for your own health. Because there's a lot of self-care things that we can do and definitely should be doing. But I think that there is just always going to be a difference between what we can do ourselves and what we can do with a practitioner. Because as you know, whether it's a psychotherapist, whether it's a nutritional coach, working with a practitioner has a way of helping you see things that you can't see. And they can, in my case, it's a hands-on profession. You feel things that you literally cannot feel just through our training and through the fact that, hey, you probably can't even reach back there. So that's one thing too. So helping people understand that both things need to be happening optimally. It might not be that you can do both right now. There are things that people can do virtually. That's a great blessing of all of this. I think at the same time, people are going to start to realize more and more that nothing is ever going to completely take the place of human touch and working with a hands-on practitioner. So it's kind of like the braces and the retainer. You need both, but they serve different purposes. So as far as some of those retainer things, again, I think one of the big blessings of this crisis is the proliferation of virtual free material. It's easier than ever to do a workout at the drop of a hat. It's easier than ever to meditate, to listen to a talk that inspires you and energizes you. I actually have found, just sitting at my laptop working at home during this, like, the things that have jumped onto my Facebook live feed often are really quite nourishing and have me feel really good and take me out of that place that I don't want to be in, where we're listen to things that are uplifting and empowering multiple times a day to help counteract all the things that are coming through that are fear-based. Because it's not to say there's nothing to be concerned about, but fear takes a toll on our systems. And I think coming out of this crisis, there's going to be a potential public health crisis around the stress and the demands of working from home, the poor ergonomics, the screen time, the anxiety that all of this can produce. So I'm really hoping that people are doubling down on some of their retainer self-care practices right now.
I know how important it is. There's this behind me is goes between a standing desk and a sitting desk for that very reason of that I got when I started working from home, because it's just not good for you to be in that position every day and to be able to move around. So doing the best we can, it seems like, to exercise your mind and your body so that everything's working as well as it can together.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I really wish you the best. And I hope the loan does come when they say it's going to come, and that things continue to get better for you, the practice, and your patients.
Thank you so much. Yes, it is an interesting time, and I so appreciate being reconnected with you and getting to be on your podcast. So thank you.